So typically the hardest part of drawing a self-portrait is starting out and figuring out where things go and what size they should be. So I have done this for you on this template. So all you really have to do is customize it into looking more like you. We'll start out by drawing a smallish circle in the middle of the eye for the pupil. That is the black, dark part in the middle. And then a bigger circle that goes outside of the shape of the eye. You'll notice the top and bottom overlap my eyelids a little bit. Those parts get erased when we're done, but you want to make sure it is an actual circle, not straight lines. And that is your iris, your colored part of your eye. So erasing the top and bottom from there, because you'll notice you can't see white above or below the colored part when you look in someone's eyes. The eyelids cover. So I'm bringing down the top eyelid a little bit here, erasing those lines where the eyelid is covering it up, and then adding some little dots for highlights. Figure out where you want to place these. Think about how the light would be hitting your face and keeping that in mind as you draw highlights always. So you're adding some eyelashes. Your eyelashes are going to sweep out and up. They're going to be curved lines. So no hard, jagged points. Don't draw them going straight up in the air, but make sure they curve out to the outside of the face. And then for the iris, the colored part of the eye, you want to imagine a circle in the middle of the pupil and draw your lines coming out of that, radiating kind of like rays of the sun from the center to the outside. And that'll give our eyes some more depth, some of that texture in the iris. You can add little corners to show the shape of the eyeball, that it's round, but not like a die-hard necessity. For the nose, noses start with circles. So if you have big or small nostrils, you're going to want to adjust your size accordingly. The tip of your nose, thinking about how big or small that is. And then once you have those circles down, you can kind of finish the lines for the nostrils, depending on the width of your face, your nose, and erase the circles when you're all done. So they're just kind of curving out and towards that bridge, the bridge of the nose, those lines between the eyes. But you don't want to make it connected. It's not a solid shape. Similar for the lips, 2 circles for the top lip and an oval for the bottom lip, depending on the thickness of your lips. And then finish the middle line of the mouth and connect the bottom of the lips to the corners as well as the top line of the lips. Don't forget about the top middle part of the upper lip. Thinking about if yours is pretty straight across or if it has an indent. And then, yes, erasing the circles and moving on to the eyebrows. I like to gently, roughly sketch out the size and shape of my eyebrows, thinking about how thick or thin your eyebrows are, and which directions they go. Maybe you have a hard curve, maybe not. But then the eyebrows, all we really want to see at the end with the eyebrows is those individual hairs. So we're going to make lots and lots of little hairs, not all going exactly the same direction, pretty much like up but out to the side and then falling over to the right more as you go to the end. So noticing the directions that the eyebrow hairs are going and making it look natural. Here I'm doing the hair. If you have bangs, you might want to make some kind of zigzaggy line across the forehead where your bangs stop. And then draw the outside shape of your hair. If it's straight, you're going to have a straight line. If it's wavy or curly, you're going to want to have a wavy line, depending on the tightness of your curls. And deciding if you want to keep that ear showing or covering it up with the paint. It'll probably be easier to keep it showing since it is printed out on the paper. Then same thing with the eyebrows, but a lot more work with the hair because it's in a larger space. You want to add those individual hairs in and just kind of practicing here. You don't want to make a lot of short, fast, hard lines, but you want to make this sweeping motion in the direction of the hair and how it flows. So this would be for straight hair, and we're going to have to do this again after we fill in the color. We're going to add this texture back in. So this time it's really just practicing. If you have a shorter hairline, you're going to draw it closer to that line at the top of the head. That's kind of just to show where our scalp is. Takes up a lot more hair, part of our head space than you would think it is. and then figure out what works for the top of your hair. Is it curly? Is it spiked up? Is it, laying down? So think about that when you start to draw your directional lines. Curly hair can be tricky. I like to kind of just swirl my pencil around and change up the direction every now and then, making some big curls, some small curls, and really just kind of circles overlapping to get it that wavy, curly look. So that's pretty much it for the first part of the drawing. Obviously, finish your face. I have not. Both eyebrows, all that stuff. And then you can add any extra things that you want, like clothing. Definitely put a shirt on yourself. Whatever kind of collar you like, just draw a curved line and go from there, adding whatever details you want. Now it is time to mix our skin color. So this part can be pretty tricky. Just stick with it, keep comparing it to your hand and thinking about what colors might help you achieve the closest look you can get to your own skin color. So right now my skin's pretty light, so I started with this peach color, added some white, a little bit of orange to give it that pigment, and then you can compare it to your hand. Maybe put a little bit on your hand to help see the difference. Maybe I use a scrap piece of paper, whatever works best for you. We are not playing with the paint. We are not painting on each other. Remember, we are focusing on getting that correct tone for our own skin. So I added some more brown. That made it a little bit darker, as you can see here. And when painting the face, you want to do it kind of quickly before your paint dries, but also taking your time, making sure not to get paint in the eyes. Definitely go over the nose, around the lips, and underneath the hair, basically covering your whole face except for your lips and eyes. So I'm carefully getting that going. I'm also paying attention to my brush strokes and which direction I'm going, because you will be able to see the brush strokes and if there was thicker paint in some areas and thinner paint in some other areas. So here I added some water, and you're going to see that it stays a lot thinner than the stroke I put down before below my lips. It's going to stay whiter, and that might leave it looking kind of weird. So make sure you have the right consistency and the right color before you start, and get a really nice even layer going the same direction all the way around your face. So now we're going to mix up some darker colors. I added some black to my palette. Blue also helps tone down and get rid of any like oranginess if it's too orange and you need to bring it back. Blue can also help here, which I forgot to add to my palette, but black, as we know, it makes things darker, creates shades. So adding just a little bit of black at a time so that you don't go too dark too fast. Gradually increasing it to match your own skin. So this is obviously a lot darker than my skin color, but we have lots of skin colors in our communities. So I wanted to test out a bunch of different ones to kind of show you guys what happens when you mix the different paints before you start experimenting on your own. Keep in mind that the darker your skin tone is, the more it will cover up those black lines that are drawn on the paper for your nose. The other stuff won't be that big of a deal, but the nose, really, we want to be able to see at least a little bit of those lines still through the paint. So adding just a little bit of water to thin out the paint will help with that without making it too much lighter. So it'll still match your skin tone, but it'll just be a little bit thinner so that we can see through it and it has more transparency. Starting off with colored pencil to try and create skin tones, you're going to want to grab a lot of colors that seem close to your skin tone. So definitely some browns, lighter browns, darker browns, maybe some reddish browns if you see any red pigmentation in your skin. For lighter skin tones, usually yellows and oranges help us get that pigment in without making it too dark too fast. Some peach color or some black. Just kind of deciding what looks closest to your skin tone. We're going to be mixing a lot of colors here. So start out with the one that seems closest to your skin. Very lightly, do not press hard like I am right here, because that'll take up all the space in your paper, not allowing for any more mixing. So super gentle pencil, applying different colors over top and layering back and forth. If you need to put another layer of the same color in, go ahead and do that. Just try not to do it all at once. Take your time. We are just in the practice phase, so try to make a bunch of different skin tones and decide which one works best for you. White actually does not make colors lighter. It might do a little bit, but it's really mostly just used for blending and getting all the colors to mix together. So keep working until you find your perfect shade and then evenly apply it to your face, ears, and neck. This brown, for example, has more of a red in it. So really try out a bunch of different colors to see what actually matches your skin. And you'll see that I started really dark, got lighter, added some brown. I'm really just experimenting here and having fun, seeing what the colored pencils do when they're all mixed together. So now that we have colored in, either with paint or colored pencil, the hair and the skin, not forgetting the ears and neck, we're gonna go in with a colored pencil. If you have darker skin, you can use black or a dark brown. And if you have lighter skin, you're gonna wanna use a lighter brown to fill in those details, keeping this natural look. So I'm re-outlining the nose so that those details are on top. Go back into the eyebrows with a color that matches your hair color or your eyebrows. They might be a little bit darker or lighter than your hair, so pay attention to that. And then we can start filling in the eye with some color. So everybody's pupils are black, so you may use a black colored pencil. Do not color in a highlight if you have one over the pupil. But you can use that same black for your eyelashes or use a lighter color if you don't want to look like you're wearing makeup, or if you actually have darker eyelashes, go ahead and use the darker colors. Find a color that fits your eye color. You can mix and match a couple different colors. I know I have a few different colors in my eyes, so I kind of made this one like my eyes, starting with some green, and then maybe adding like a lighter center and a darker rim around the outside, and keeping with that same line direction. Remember, we have a point in the middle, and then the lines in the eye are radiating out from that center point in the middle of the pupil. So we're not just scribbling all over the eye. We are following those same directional lines. You can color in your eyelid a little bit darker, and then maybe go over your eyelashes again to make them stand out. This is going to be different for everybody just based off of the colors you have in your skin and your hair, your eyelashes, your eyebrows. Everyone's will be unique. And then moving on to the lips. If you look closely, our lips actually have lines in them. So I kind of started by outlining them a little bit, kind of putting that color in, and then I'm pressing just a little bit harder to make some more prominent, darker lines in the middle of the lip, and then some lines going up for my upper lip and drawing down for my bottom lip. Going back in with the black to kind of outline this. Again, more subtle colors will keep this looking more natural, and darker colors like using black or a bright color for your lips might make it look like you are wearing some makeup. So keeping that in mind as well, you can always practice first on another sheet of paper and match the colors to your own face. Use a friend if you need help. And last but not least, you want to add that texture back into your hair. We want it to look like we have those fine hairs with lots of directional lines following the way your hair flows and grows. If your hair is gelled and sticks straight up, your lines would be going up. This is straight hair going to the side, starting at the top of her head and then falling down off the side. So my pencil is following that direction, adding lots and lots of sweeping lines over and over and over again so that it looks like real hair. And then this is my curly hair example. So I'm starting with some spirals, kind of outlining it using a slightly darker color here and a lighter color to get a nice mixture of colors. Straight up just yellow doesn't really look exactly like blonde hair, so you're going to want to mix some neutrals in there, following along with those spirally curvy lines. Lots of varieties in your circles and spirals with curly hair. And then finishing up those last details, your clothing, any jewelry or glasses or headbands or anything else you decided to add. And you could even cut this out, put it on a different sheet of paper to make a background and a frame. Anything you want. It's up to you.